eno ye Extra Media UJ. Subscribe for all updates.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I bring greetings and compliments of the Radical New Bar Governing Council to our distinguished guests and panelists for the two sessions we've had today in full protocol observed. But perhaps exceptionally, I should mention Guild President Emeritus in our midst, Shamim Nambasa. You have been heartily received, and the world has been able to see that you're truly made of stellar stuff. Thank you for giving us those testimonies. I would like to go straight to a presentation that I have prepared on this question due to its sensitivity. Comrade and colleague Jonathan, thank you for honoring this invitation from your busy schedule. You are very important on where we go from here. Political prisoners as the site of struggle for the Ugandan Gen Z movement. What is to be done? The first thing is to bring into the public domain a definition of political prisoner as the collective, definitive, foundational aspect of our struggle. Or I should say, your struggle as Gen Zs. There is a definitional problem. I have heard Shamim say that, shall we stop political prisoners? Definitely not. And that's made me cry, because Shamim is committed to political freedom, but she lives in an ecosystem that hasn't given her a definition of political prisoner and an assurance that the world ended, or it thought it had ended, the scourge of political prisoners. So we must provide a definition, and as president of the Ugandan Society, I will put it in the record. A political prisoner does not emerge from ordinary crime. I think the two speakers have made that point. A political prisoner is born of political persecution, the deliberate weaponization of state power to crush dissent, silence ideas, like my idea of the right to incite, and annoy leaders, and to punish the mere act of imagining a Uganda beyond the Museveni junta. Imagining, the mere act of imagining. And I think that's the essence of the bill that will get a first reading this afternoon. This is not mere rhetoric. It is the irreducible core of the definition of political prisoner under international law and the Ugandan constitution. For those of you who have gone to law school, you would have met the extradition law. You would have been introduced to the Extradition Act during perhaps third year criminal procedure. And at LDC, you also study some extradition. So under the corpus of extradition law, the political offense exception stands as a global yardstick for defending against applications for extradition. Shamim, extradition is what, for instance, the Ugandan state wanted to do against me last year by issuing summons and elevating them to Interpol red alerts so that the judicial systems of any country in which I am can cooperate, can offer what they call mutual legal assistance to another republic like Uganda to present a fugitive back to the country which accuses him of crime. So this used to happen a lot until states agreed an extradition treaty and said, no, there are some offenses that must be accepted, removed, denied. And those offenses are called pure political offenses. So if the case against you is treason, like messages, there is no court in the world that can give an extradition order for your return. That is why Vestige was merely, in vernacular we say, stolen, abducted, and renditioned to Uganda. And then the Ugandan system started to pretend as if it had a pure offense against him. But in international law, treason is called a pure political offense. Sedition, kalebule, okulebula abakungu. Sedition was outlawed in Uganda in the year 2010. Okulebula president to annoy and insult the president and his staff and his government and his ideas and his policies. Okulebula abatukiikirira. Okulebula parliament, the institution, the members, their laws, their policies. Okulebula abalamuzi, to insult and annoy judges. The Uganda courts removed this offense from our books in 2010. The irony is, I am charged with that offense, I'm convicted of that offense, and I'm sentenced to 2 years under that offense. And I'm supposed to be in Lozira with Mr. Otto fighting for me, to remove me, so that the courts which sent me under non-offense, are being begged to. So there you go. Acts directed at the political order itself are excluded from extradition precisely because they are not crimes in the ordinary sense, but contests over power. Internationally accepted standards reinforced and brought back to Uganda. As Philip once asked me, what is your status, Isaac? And I told Philip, well, you're a lawyer. Debate the question. Am I still audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Okay. Sorry. So I said, well, my friend, a lawyer, I also have lawyers, international lawyers, and they have told me not to answer that question because I have to look at who I'm answering it to. I must only give it to a judge in their country. Anyway, Amnesty International defines prisoner of conscience as one who has been imprisoned solely for who they are or what they believe without recourse to violence. That's matters of speech offenses, insult laws. You're a victim of an insult law. What you believe, opinions. You have not used any violence. And the clauses they say is that there has been a threat to insult. Well, we see the particulars and we say, no, there's no violence. We look for the witnesses. So where are the witnesses? And that's it. And that's why I think in all the cases Mr. Eloto is doing, the state doesn't have witnesses. It's so Amnesty, of course, the Amnesty website, Shamim, is where you must go starting today. And how they treat the Amnesty political prisoners and how they arrange. I will say something more about this later towards the end. But Amnesty has a broader category of political prisoners, which encompasses any case where a political motive colors either the prisoner's conduct or the state's response. A political motive is a contestation of a power. Political motive. When I said Abodo is a vagina from Karamoja, rotten tomato, who won't change anything for our justice? I was saying, I was attacking the political appointment because she's only a DPP by a political appointment. And the tweet was clear. But the treatment, the entire corpus of legal practitioners in Uganda, civic activists in Uganda, they gave it was quite flimsy and disappointingly underwhelming. Those are political statements. They will continue to be made, and they enjoy ironclad protection under the law. The Council of Europe's guidelines. Council of Europe is a little known, a lesser known governmental body. Apart from the EU, the Parliament, the Commission, there's something called the Council of Europe, which issues a number of guidelines that state a baseline for rulemaking across the Eurozone. It says this, that any detention in violation of fundamental guarantees such as freedom of expression, assembly, association, or for purely political reasons qualifies as a political prisoner. The UN Human Rights Committee, which is the agency, the committee of experts appointed by the General Assembly to interpret the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights and guide state parties in the implementation, but also to monitor state parties in their commitments to the treaty on a periodic basis known as the Universal Periodic Review, which happens in Geneva, for which I would like to invite you, Shamim, next time we are going as the Uganda Society. You go with me and you see it, and you state the case for Uganda. But you are now a leader in the political party. You are now a leader in the government of Uganda. You are entitled to go and address the UN Human Rights Committee on the question of political prisoners. Look for the day they are receiving submissions, submit yours, and tell your people that you're doing work, you're fighting. It's not only Eloto's fight. You are legitimately among friends. It interprets the ICCP, as I've said. It has a document called a general comment. When it issues it for the world, after the state parties have approved it, it is issued. It becomes like a chapter in a Bible, or not a chapter, a book. We look at it as a source of reference of law, what we call soft law, because it's law coming from international customary law. The most important here, of course, general comment number 34 on freedom of expression, and general comment number 35, Mr. Eloto, on liberty and security. Mr. Eloto, I would like you to read general comment number 35. I would like all your staff to read it. Both 34 and 35 are supposed to be baseline instruments. Up the game. Ugandan law is dead. It offers no clear framework of, it will take us nowhere. And here we should celebrate and congratulate the Constitutional Court in the recent case of Alternative Digital for affirming without equivocation in one unanimous judgment that these instruments are binding law on Uganda. Mr. Eloto, in your lifetime, as you begin your career, the courts are telling you these instruments supersede Uganda law. And Uganda law, if it doesn't match these instruments, is unlawful. That's the judgment that came on March 17th. The fight wasn't in vain. Madam Shamim has said, the digital bush, the fight of the digital bush wasn't in vain. It has got judges to speak so clearly what was too difficult to achieve 20 years ago in Obo, 24 years ago in Obo. It was hard, it was expensive. It took an appeal to the Supreme Court. And the courts were starting, they couldn't really say clearly whether these things are binding law. They called them lesser level guidelines. But now the court has said they are binding law, they are supreme. And this is a build, it builds on the jurisprudence of Attorney General versus Kavaziguruka, 31st January, where again the Supreme Court unanimously says, yes, the African Commission principles on any point under the Banjul Charter, that's the African Charter of Human People's Rights, and the general comments guidelines, when published and approved and adopted by the General Assembly, they are binding law. Binding law is the word they used. And Mr. Elotu, that is your legacy. To accept no other reference beyond these things. Now, the Human Rights Committee condemns harassment, arrest, imprisonment, detention, what my brother Saava talked about, of individuals for their political opinions as a direct violation of covenant rights. This is a principle, again, like I said, it's reiterated in the March 17th decision, which said publishing not only false news, but also any form of publication should cease to be an offense. So it says, we have accepted as the Constitutional Court of Uganda that Uganda should repeal all laws that criminalize sedition, insult, and publishing false news, and criminal defamation or criminal libel. And the judges offered what we call a mea culpa. We were wrong, we are sorry. In 2009, we got it wrong in the case of Uganda versus, in the case of Joachim Buembo versus Attorney General. But I won't go into principles that deep. The African Commission, our own protector. Shamim, you're now a leader. Go to Banjul and see the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Elotu, take time, go to Banjul, go to Arusha and see the African Court and build relationships with the African Court judges and staff there. Because Uganda is dead in terms of rule of law, but it's not the end of what is to be done. You must externalize the struggle. You are the Gen Zs, it's your time. Do what we didn't do. We didn't go to Arusha, yet it's so near. We didn't go to Banjul, we didn't go to Geneva. And not law, they were lying. They didn't know. Or maybe they were so enthusiastic to make this constitution, law, to make Ugandan judicial system a justice system. They had hope, but all those hopes have been crushed. So what do we fall back on? Do we believe it's like entering a room where people have already eaten? Shamim, have you attended the Amwatulide before? Unfortunately, I can't hear your response.
She says,
you give her the microphone.
She says she has. There's a microphone before you there.
Give her the microphone. Don't mansplain her.
Activate it with the button before you. Yeah. Can you speak, please?
Yes,
don't mansplain her.
She can speak now.
Yes. How does explain how plates would look like when people have already eaten at a Amwatulide and they have just gone to pray, they have gone to enter the mosque. What does it look like?
It's a complete mess, but the plates are almost clean, but at the same time dirty.
And their bones.
Yeah.
They have eaten all their meat, but their bones. That's what Uganda law looks like. Put her back on the picture. I want to see. This must be as interactive as possible. I'm jazzing with Gen Zs. Right?
Yes, Mr. President.
You are again mansplaining. I want to hear Shamim's response.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you know, yeah, that is what is the operating environment for justice in Uganda. The Philip Karugavas who presented Ali, they talked to real judges and they got judgments like Uganda Law Society versus Attorney General, Constitutional Petition number 2, the one you talked about. We are trying to build on that and we are being locked out of the court by judges. Do you understand me now, dear?
Yes.
Yeah, the judges are saying the food is over. There's no more food to eat, you know, it's over. Eating time was
Done.
before COVID. There's a new post-COVID era. You understand?
Yes.
And so you must wake up to this reality. Mr. Lotu, put Mr. Lotu on.
On the microphone before you.
And on video as well. Mr. Lotu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Are you understanding the metaphors I'm using?
Yes, I do. I truly do.
You have to accept the new normal. Just as much as you put energy in going to Butambala, you know, Koboko, you know, Karamoja, all that energy, as you do it, find an app, get a way where you inform the Human Rights Committee immediately. File every charge with the Human Rights Committee exactly. Can you understand that, Mr. Lotu? All right? Write a letter to the Human Rights Committee that from today onwards, I will be faxing a charge so that you put it on the Uganda file. We didn't do these things, we're not told. But this is how other countries where they have been having serious juntas. Do you know Myanmar? We have met lawyers for Myanmar. And you say, but do you practice any law there? And they say, yeah, we report to the Human Rights what? Committee. Then I say, repeat that. Yeah, we report to the Human Rights Committee. And then we leave the UN General Assembly to fight for us. You get me, Mr. Rotu? This thing was told to me by a group of activists we met in Marrakesh. In passing, I never interrogated what it meant. But later on, when I met my colleagues, the cheesers, the person who founded the office you have, Mr. Wameli, I told them that Uganda law cannot deliver results. We have reached a cul-de-sac. Can you put Mr. Lotu on, please, video? I'm talking to Lotu now. He's my guest. So this is how I conduct counsel. It's intimate. Distance does not operate as a barrier. So we had this discussion with the founder of your office, the deceased Wameli. And I met him in Boston a few weeks before he passed on. And he told me, Isaac, forgive me. Forgive me. I thought you're just too much. I thought you were too hard on the judiciary. I thought you were too hard on us. But now that I am entirely in my last days, I realize that you were right in saying, memento mori. Do you know what that means a lot? Hello?
No, I'm getting you. I'm getting you.
Yes. Do you know what memento mori means?
I have not yet addressed my mind to that.
Yeah, memento mori is a creed that comes from the time of the Roman Empire. Before Roman youth went out to war, there was a ceremony where they passed through a pit stop, you know, like a pit stop, like in football. They are going to pour on them water and do on them rituals so that they go to war tomorrow. Now, there is a walk, a mile walk, where they would shout at them, memento mori, memento mori. Remember, you must die. Remember, you must die. This is your last exhibition. You know, be proud. You are going to die. But how must you die? Of course, it's with courage. So you know the haka from New Zealand. You know the haka? The cultural dance from the rugby team of All Blacks. Yes, that's a memento mori, you know, in their own way. They are telling the opponent that for you have come to have a game. For us, we have come to die. We have not come to play. We have come to die. We have come to die. So have the same conception. But then what does it mean from a legal perspective? That did you, as you expired, did you shoot all the bullets you had, or you could have shot? We had that discussion, and Wameli told me, Isaac, you're right. There were so many bullets you would have shot at great cost, at lesser cost. Look at my body now. I get you, and I don't say this lightly, but I do recognize the tradition you're coming into. I too was in your position. I was deputy legal secretary for the FDC for a very brief time. My predecessors, Galisonga, now new honorable Mudi Abole, Mudi Nasa, we've been in this situation, and so we know what doesn't work anymore, and you should take that into consideration. We are here to support you, not to criticize you. So here in Uganda, the African Commission has documents which, as you have heard in Kavazgiruka, they said these are binding law. It's principles on arrest, pre-trial detention, which is your concern, and prisons similarly rejects the use of state machinery to suppress legitimate political activity. So there's a body of law around the condition of political prisoners. Here, the junta's police regime mocks all these standards while trampling upon our supreme law. You could get the impression that these standards are only international law, but they're also in our Article 143, our Article 43, Article 2A. Have we had that conversation, Brother Eroto? Have you had a chance to look at Article 43?
Abalungi abatuliriza era abatulaba olunaku olwaleero tuchaddeko ewa Sheikh Asiraf Dembe.
Sebo sanyusa okubalaba amannya agange ye Sheikh Asiraf Dembe akola ku bizibu by'enjawulo. Omuntu singa aba alina ebirwadde musomereddwa tumuwa amazzi ga lukuya nga bw'obadde ogalaba tugenda abantu ku kyoto ne twokya emizimu emibi egibabaamu n'okulombeddwa abantu singa abeera ng'ali wano atuuse sobola okumulombereddwa ne waba atatuuse nga mpadde amanya ge nenga ali wala manetaze enamba yange yenu eri 0707363711 namwe banyinaffe abali ebweru oyagala okuba nti oyagala okulombera ku ddwa ng'olina ebizibu visa zibuze amakaga kolongotana sente zikola zimpita mu ngalo ojja kumpereza ekifaananyi kyo n'amanyago ebyo byokka bijja kummala nja kulombera eddwa ojja kutereera olunaku olusembayo mu mwezi mba n'eddwa eyawamu ffenna n'abalwadde bange abakadde n'abapya. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.